Hey there, Indra. Hey there, everybody else. We're just getting started, so I'm gonna get Indra to get on stage and co-host, and then we'll get to everybody else, and we'll start this space. If you are joining us, thanks so much for coming by, and Happy New Year! It's the first time we've been back for a while. We took a couple weeks off during the break, but now I'm back full force with our weekly event. And I see Melanie's also joining us too, which is great. Melanie is another colleague that I work with in the Thought Leadership Brand Club, and I thought she'd be great to be here for this discussion as well. So, Indra and Melanie are both here. So, Indra, how are you doing?
Oh, I am truly blessed today, Bobby. We are having a lot of rain here in sunny California.
Hey,
Yes,
nice.
but it is a nice change. And how are you doing this
I'm
morning?
good, and I should say Happy New Year. I mean, I haven't
Yes,
talked to you in a while. How was your New Year's? What'd you do for New Year's?
actually, it was very chill. It was a lot of food, uh, a little bit of vino, and it was just very relaxing and movies. So it was very nice. How was your New Year? Happy New Year.
Yeah, I was in Vancouver with my friend, so that was great. And Melanie, how about you? Well, Happy New Year. How was your New Year?
My New Year was very, very much like Indra's. It was very chill, very relaxed. Not, nothing over the top or anything, but it was, I couldn't have asked for it to be anything better. So it was nice.
Someday I'll have a New Year where I actually don't make it to midnight because I'm getting old. But for now, I'm making it. This New Year, we around 11 o'clock. I was like, "Oh man, I'm dying." So we played a game to keep my energy up until I made it to midnight. And then as soon as like Happy New Year, and then back to go to sleep. So I'm gonna start pinging some people to join the room. If people want to come on stage, they totally can. Today we're going to cover the 7 essentials of thought leadership, and which are the ones that you need to succeed. I was gonna title it, which ones are you missing or which ones you need help on. But that's really what the focus is today, because I think every single one of us has something we need to work on when it comes to building it up. And I also think it's important to understand what the benefits are. But that's really what this room is about. I would invite everyone here to start tweeting it out there. So let me just see if I can find the my latest tweet. We'll put that in the profile above, and then we can get people to first thing you can do is you can actually you can put I'll put in the nest above. Okay, so now it's in the nest above, so you can actually retweet that. First of all, you can also DM people to join the room, and then let's as we start talking and sharing knowledge, you can retweet and share stuff. You can say, hey, here's what Bobby shared, here's what interest shared. You can tag us, and when you tag me particularly, I will see it, and then I'll retweet them. I have a million followers, which will then get us more people in the room, as well as get you more followers, so it's a win-win. So think about that, and feel free to tweet up there. And if you're on stage, we definitely encourage you to tweet and retweet stuff out. With that, I'm going to hand it to Indra and then Eleni to start with their introductions while I start pinging folks. Go ahead. Indra, you're first.
I'm sorry, Bobby, I was tweeting out the space to share out the space. Okay, so good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year, and especially to those people who are going to listen to this in the replay as well. Hope you enjoy this important discussion on thought leadership. I'm Indra Bartona, a producer in the film and television industry, a TV host, and more recently, last year, the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. And I really have to start calling myself a content creator because I'm creating content across so many different platforms, including Twitter is quite my home base, YouTube, Instagram, especially, and the occasional LinkedIn. So I'm really excited about this discussion on what thought leadership is about, and specifically the 7 types. And to also, it's a great refresher, I feel, this discussion as we're starting off the new year, and to just go back and look at what we're all doing with our brands, even with our um, accounts. If you have a social media account anywhere, it's great to think about some of these things that Bobby, Melanie, and myself will be talking about. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much, Bobby.
Melanie, it's your turn. You're up.
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Melanie Mitchell Wexler. I am a career coach, a job search expert, and a LinkedIn strategist. And I, work with individuals throughout North America, and apparently going to be starting to work potentially with a European client, so expanding my reach. And I was also a former recruiter for over 20 years. And truthfully, I never, if you had asked me 5 years ago, are you a thought leader? I would have absolutely told you no. I did not view myself as that. And it's been a journey for me, literally embracing that kind of concept. And I think that's what now I actually try to do with a lot of my executive level and senior level clients, is really get them to think of what their value is and what they can add to the conversation. And so I'm excited about today's conversation, and I really encourage people to really kind of expand their thought in terms of themselves, and it's, and embrace this, that you have value to add, and you have a unique perspective that everyone should be able to hear and see.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks. And let me just start with my two wonderful. Oops. You guys there? Sorry. It's just the buttons were screwing up with me. Okay, so let me start by first talking about what thought leadership means. Thought leadership basically is somebody who is seen as an expert and authority in their field, someone who's recognizable, someone who is thought of, someone who people are aware of. So if I say, hey, when you think of movies, you think of Tom Hanks. When I say, hey, when you think of vulnerability, you think of Brené Brown. When I say, hey, when you think of entrepreneurship and the hustle, you might think of Gary Vaynerchuk. So the idea is that if you are an expert or an authority, or you want to be, in real estate or cybersecurity or coaching or LinkedIn or Twitter, whatever it might be, right? Building a thought leadership brand for yourself is building authority, building expertise, being known. When people say their name, they recognize that person. People, come to me because, oh, Bobby, he's a TEDx guy, he's a speaker, he's an entrepreneur, he's a business guy, he's a digital marketing dude, personal branding guy. Like they come to me because that's how they see me. And so that's why building thought leadership for yourself or your brand or your company or whoever you are associated with or represent is important. Now, what are the outcomes and benefits of this? Well, number one, people come to you first versus you going after them about anything. So whether you're trying to get a new job or a promotion in your workplace or somewhere else, if you're trying to land clients, if you're trying to get opportunities, people come to you. You're more recognizable as a memorable name in the industry. There's vetting because people trust you and people have referred to you. But also, almost more importantly, I get called for building a thought leadership brand for my expertise. I get called to do speaking gigs. I get called to do TED Talks. I get called to do book deals. I don't always say yes, but I get called to do them. I get called to be on podcasts. I get to ask to speak on media panels and podcasts, getting media opportunities to speak on television or radio to talk about the things that I'm an expert on. Those are also great benefits. I'm also able to generate revenue because when I have a strong thought leadership brand and I reach out to people, people are more likely to respond or come to book a call with me, and next thing you know, it leads to business. So for all those reasons, you want to double your business, you want to increase your engagement, you want to build better relationships, you want to get speaking gigs, you want to get media appearances, you want to get opportunities and leads, you want to, build a recognizable brand that leads to more opportunities for yourself. That's why we spend the time on building thought leadership. So that to me is incredibly important. And if this is something that you want to do, and I think everyone should, I'm not sure who wouldn't want to, um, then this is the room to be on. And I encourage you to come up on stage and share your story and let us know about where you're at, what you're working on. But in the meantime, I'll go to Indra, then Melanie on maybe why don't you share your definition of what you think thought leadership is and why you think it's important.
Thanks so much, Bobby. Well, I think anybody that pretty much this extends to anybody that is looking to do something on social media and externally outside social media, you have to think about thought leadership. And what it means to me is, well, first of all, because, I love the inspirational content. Um, that anything that has inspiration to it, it doesn't matter about the topic, but anything that inspires me, I think it's important to have that element. Also, often something that's educational, it's going to help people, it's going to support people. These are some of the pieces that I think of when I think of thought leadership. Um, and also, what is the trend? Often, like when there is trends in industry, you know, whatever your niche or area is, and I'm just going to backtrack. Also, it's good to have a certain niche in thought leadership. It also makes me think of niching down as well. Like, for example, a lot of people will think of me as, oh, positivity. Okay, she's got the Positivity Vibe Tribe global community. So they will think of that. And then I guess my other niche is in film and television as a producer. But more so on this platform, I have been working on and niching down on, which is a good example of this, niching down and working on, is the positivity. So my content has that. And then I also think it's really important with thought leadership that we also share whatever is like the latest thing, um, um, in that area. Um, and also, as specialists in the field, it's good to also share content that reflects that. So I guess there is some of the main things that come to mind. And and if you're a thought leader, you sort of have to put yourself out there with thoughts and opinions about things. You can't sort of be, I guess, vague. It's good to have a definitive position on a lot of things, and often you hear that with Bobby and a lot of content he shares. He has a lot of passion behind his content and the reasons why he does certain things. So, all these things are important as thought leaders, to have thoughts and opinions, to have the experience behind it, knowledge, and also to share a lot of things. Transparency as much as we can with things. That's why it's great to have a social media account and to share with others. What you're doing, what your process is, because people are fascinated and they're looking to you to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. Um, and also, I feel like as a thought leader, we should all have the desire to be able to be generous with what we know and our knowledge. And also just be creative, a creativity, an ability to see things differently, to create something new. I guess in a nutshell, that would be some of my thoughts, Bobby. Back over to you.
Melanie's turn.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Indra was saying in terms of, thought leadership being the expression of your ideas, you're demonstrating your expertise and whether it's a particular field, an area, or a topic. But also, I think, and Indra mentioned this as well, not just being passionate about, and eager to share that knowledge with others so that it can benefit something. It has a direct effect or a direct, a positive, hopefully a positive impact. But I think it also, one of the other things is I think it also takes the, dedication and, in order for you to build that, thought leadership brand particularly, is that it takes dedication, it takes patience and strategy. And that you really have to, it's something you have to continuously kind of work on. And I would tie that into getting comfortable with being, considered in that realm of being able to, maybe potentially inspire somebody. That's why we see speakers and, their TED Talks and giving encouragements or graduation speeches, things like that. But, really embracing the mindset that you have, and I mentioned this earlier in my introduction, but that you have value, that you have something to add to the conversation. And I think that's also an important aspect of, kind of owning it and stepping into those shoes, even if you don't necessarily feel comfortable or maybe quite yet like you deserve it.
All right, good stuff.
I'll
You guys are fantastic. Looks like we have someone on stage already to, I guess, ask a question. So, we talked about what thought leadership is and why it's important. I'll get into the 7 thought leadership essentials. And again, this is for you to come up on stage as well, and we encourage you to share what areas are you strong with, what areas you need to work on, and we're going to give you the knowledge on how to you actually get those speaking gigs, get those clients, get those leads, get those opportunities, how to build a content strategy, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you come on stage and invite more people to the room. Go ahead, Zarkun. You have a question for us? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Bobby. I really highly appreciate you guys, the way you are motivating the leaders, the youth, right? We are somewhere, right? What I see, we are mostly complaining, in the modernized, passionate world where the pace of the world is quite faster, and those who cannot compete, or they cannot follow up the standard of this fastly moving world. They are mostly feeling themselves miserable, and I've seen that they are mostly engaged in complaining. I mean, they are protesting, complaining. On other hand, if you see the energies which a human being is equipped by the nature is not appropriately utilized by an individual. Let me introduce myself, Bobby, if you permit me. I am Shah Mohammad Zurkun. I'm assistant professor in Department of Law from Pakistan in a province called Balochistan, a very sparkling spot. I've been, a year before, I went through an heart attack and went through angioplasty. And then I thought to serve the people in mountainous and backward areas. So I just quit my home and moved ahead in mountainous area where people used to feel insecure because of the political instability and other sort of conflicts. But instead of it, when I came here, I saw that the people are as if they're searching for water. They are really searching for someone to give them guidance. And I've seen a huge amount of appreciation from these people. I'm working for 8 to 9 hours a day. Instead of that, I'm ill, but I never gave up, right? I see that if you can utilize your energies at right spot. The only problem which I'm having, just wanted to have high guideline from you guys, is that I found in a complex society where, as if I'm living, there are a lot of professional jealousy, is existing among us. I mean, if someone sees you are going in a right path, in right direction, they will try to create hindrance or interference, and they will try to create some sort of mental agony or stress for you that could cause to damage your main goal. How could we avoid such guys or such people who never want to see you moving in the right direction? Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks for your question and appreciate your share. I mean, the thing is, as we move forward and as we put our stuff out there, there will always be detractors and people who want to get in the way or slow us down. What's interesting, actually, is that the most common detractors from us building our brands can often be our family, right? Our family or our partners, because they don't get what we're doing or why we're doing it. And what I would say to that is that there's always going to be naysayers out there. And there's 2 things you can do. One is you can turn the naysayers into yaysayers, where you have a conversation, and instead of them being naysayer, they're like, "Yay, I support you now," because I had a conversation with them and say, "Listen, I need your support. I would do much better with your support, whether it's your family member or a friend or whatever it might be." And the other thing is, the second thing is, you can't spend so much time worrying about those people. I mean, a very common thing that happens is we worry about the people, like, well, on Twitter, for example. Um, how many people tweet me with not very nice replies to things? I get that often on Twitter compared to other platforms. Do I respond to them? Very rarely, but sometimes I do. But most of the time, I ignore it. There's people who, yeah, they say mean things. They, are not really supporting you, and that negative energy is something. Unless it's detrimental to your brand or something that needs to be addressed, for the most part, you can ignore it. because oftentimes it's jealousy. Oftentimes they're just projecting whatever their own emotional pain is. And, I think that as long as you continue to stay focused on your trying to help people, stick to the heart, stick to the people that you're trying to focus on, and just continue to do the work, and you'll be able to build something really, really strong. Indra or Melanie, any thoughts on that question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
Oh, sorry, you go ahead,
oh, go
Melanie.
ahead. Oh, okay.
Let's let Melanie go first this time. We'll switch it up, mix up.
Okay. So, the other thing I would add is just find yourself supportive groups, that a supportive group of, individuals that are maybe on a similar mission or have similar mindset that you do, because as Bobby mentioned, sometimes our friends and family, they just don't understand. And I actually encounter this a lot with job seekers who maybe are looking to make a change, and people, it's scary to think like, oh my gosh, you have this big idea. I don't like that scares people. How are you going to do it? Where's the money going to come from? There's so many questions. So sometimes you need to surround yourself with people that are doing the same work that you're doing, or in the same kind of vein, so that you can have kind of an emotional support for those detractors. And the biggest thing is just not letting them own that space in your head, as well as owning that space and taking away from your mission. And I'll pass it over to Indra.
Thanks so much, Melanie. So many wonderful points. Also, Professor, I wanted to say that, uh, a lot of things that, yes, I totally agree with everything that Bobby and Melanie have said. And also to add in, it's something that it happens to many of us, but also I feel like it happens to a lot of us when we're really succeeding. And maybe it's human nature, maybe it's people that would like to be doing what you're doing and they're not able to do it. And then they see you having success. And I remember doing a course with Lewis Howes a couple months ago, and he said if you read all the hate DMs, emails, everything that he gets, he said he turns it into like, well, all those people that don't want you to succeed, instead fuel that as energy that you are doing something that is great, that is fulfilling to you, that will help other people. And and also, there's always going to be those people that even on like Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is, they're going to make it difficult. They might drop into your spaces and try to intimidate you, or say something to make you feel uncomfortable. And that's where you really have to have you have to build a network of people that you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love your support. This person is stalking me or whatever it is, and or writing nasty comments. Can I have your support? And that's where you really have to do it. But turn this negative, that when you look at it in black and white, it can be a negative, but actually it's a positive. It's reinforcing that you are on track, that you are doing everything great, and just to connect with yourself every now and again and just say, I'm on the path, I'm going to keep going, and I'm not going to listen to any of the negativity that is around me. I'm going to focus on all the good things around me and the people that support me, even if it's just a handful, even if it's just a few. Focus on all the good and build on that, because that's what we have to do as thought leaders. We have to be stronger and we have to be resilient. And so that will get us to that point. Thanks so much for the question. It's a wonderful question.
Whoops, sorry about that. That was a terrible sound effect. What I clicked thumbs up to support you, and all of a sudden I had that weird sound effect. That was funny. Yeah, thanks so much for that. And what's also interesting too is that negativity. I mean, everyone's negative once in a while, and it's okay. We're all human, right? I have my bad days where I'm feeling bad, and I may say something that doesn't come across well. But what I would say is that also when it comes to negativity, there are people who we know in our community, and sometimes I'll make the effort to try to say, listen, I'd love to understand why you're feeling this way. And for the people that I know and care about, I'm more willing to do that. For the ones that I don't know at all, well, then I'll just kind of ignore it. So that's something you can also do. And sometimes it turns into something it turns into something a lot better, which I think is great. So thanks for that. Again, we're talking about the 7 thought leadership essentials you need to succeed. And I'm telling you, so many people, want to get speaking gigs, want to get more leads, want to build their business, want to get a TED talk, do all these things they want to do, but they hold themselves back. And the number one thing that holds you back is actually our number one thought leadership essential, which is basically mindset and confidence. So number one essential is mindset and confidence. Every single one of us struggles with mindset, whether it's mindset to create content, whether it's mindset to reach out to someone with a DM, mindset to have that conversation, mindset to just, put ourselves out there, confidence when we're speaking, confidence when we're, tweeting, confidence when we're presenting. And, confidence and mindset is the start of everything because our mindset often holds us back and our confidence is what can actually win people over. And if you can actually work on those two things to get better and better at it and improve on it on a regular basis, you're going to get more and more effective as a thought leader. And so when I first started out, I wasn't super confident in my content, but as I got better and better, I became more confident and I also had a better mindset about it. And now it's far more impactful. So to me, that's the first thing you need. And, I have a model that I use for how to build thought leadership and basically how to turn brands into thought leaders. And mindset is the base. Mindset and confidence is the base. If we can work on that, it's going to affect everything else. Interim, Melanie, what do you think about that? That's my number one I'm starting with. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm going to jump in first this time, and then Melanie can go next time. Mindset is everything, and it is something that, as humans, we have to work on a daily basis in order to, I feel like, tame the mindset to keep it on track. And there's a lot of things that we can do as far as setting the mindset, but a lot of it is also, I'm going to talk about environment and what we feed ourselves, because it really does affect our mindset. The people that we surround ourselves with, the social media, what are we absorbing, the news, all these things impact upon us. And we have to manage all of these things. And it's not about not being aware of what's happening in the world with the news, it's about limiting, it's about making sure that we are well organized as far as our content absorption of what we're bringing, what we're taking in the world, and that we balance this all out so that we're able to have happy lives and that we prosper in our business as well. So there's that balance as well. So mindset is really, really important. It's something that we have to do for ourselves each day, and it's actually a process. I would say that, you know, you just can't, because we're humans, we're going to wake up and feel different every single day. I don't think there's anybody, unless they're, a cyborg that wakes up and feels, oh, I feel amazing every day. It's not happening like that. So it is good to have some things that you can fall back on. And for me, it is definitely a morning routine. Many successful people out there in the world, when you look at them and you study what they're doing, they have a successful morning routine. So to start the morning off is definitely really important to me, to be absorbing, to be learning, to be constantly on whatever the edge of the technology is or the current trends are. For me, is always exciting. So I like to fill myself with that. And also for me, I like to do some meditation, move the body, and eat healthy. I think it comes back to like a balance of so many things that we have to cover off. And it all leads back to our state of mindset. If we're feeling good, then it's easier for us to have more energy. Bobby is really high energy, if you notice that. And when he starts to speak, you pick up on his energy. Melanie has a great energy as well. So you have to be ready to engage with people. And to do that, sometimes you have to do some preparation and work on yourself behind the scenes. So they're my thoughts. Over to you, Melanie.
I mean, I'm not even sure where to begin because you touched on so much, which I absolutely love. So, I mean, but I do think it is a practice. It's a practice of every day, and I don't care if have reached the top of your ladder or you're still climbing that ladder. you've got to be able that I really feel like your mindset and your mindset's directly related to your confidence in so many ways, but it's mindset is just something you have to work on every single day, no matter who you are or where you're at in your journey in life. And so I always say, like, whether it's my clients as job seekers or, entrepreneurs, mindset's the key to your success. And without a very strong mindset, just like any tool, we have to, you have to continuously use it. Otherwise, it doesn't, it's not effective. And so, I'm sure many people may be starting on weight loss journeys or, working out for the new year and going by that, treadmill, and then it just sits there. Well, it doesn't do any good if it's just sitting there. You have to use it. So, the same goes with your mindset. You have to use the available tools to you to really be able to hone in on that and just continuously build it. So for me, I journal every single morning. I do a positivity journal that a positive thinking journal that gives me prompts. But I also do a gratitude list every single morning. At least try to do 10 things that I'm grateful for. And then at night before I go to bed, I tell myself what is the one thing that I'm most proud of myself for. And it's not about being, it's not about, being boastful or, being prideful. It's just really saying, no, you're telling yourself you're doing great. And that's the last thought that I have, one of the last thoughts that I have before I go to sleep at night. And so again, these are practices. I don't, some days I fall off and don't always do them, but I can tell you I see the difference when I don't and when I do. So I think it's a tool that's in your toolbox that you have to, you have to access, if not every day, but at least multiple times during the week. Back to you, Bobby.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. And I'm going to. All right. So again, if you're part of this conversation and you want to learn how to build thought leadership, how to become an expert in your field, how to build authority, which will land you media gigs, speaking gigs, TED Talks, book deals, more clients, more leads. That's what this is all about today. And I invite you all to come on stage. I also want to get more people in the room. So let's get folks here. We'd love for you to promote this room today. So I'll be here for another like half an hour, 45 minutes to help as many people as I can. But if you can click on the button at the top there and tweet it out to the world, and let people know, like tag me, tag Inder, tag Melanie, let people know what you're learning from this space. Invite your network to come into this room. If you tag me, I'll then retweet them. I have my 500,000 followers, which will benefit you as well. So I hope you guys will consider that. And you can also DM folks with the buttons as well. So do everything you can to just get more people in the room, because I think it's going to be a really great conversation. All right. So appreciate that. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can come on stage, put your hand up. We love hands up, and so we can help you with your brands and what you're working on. Or you can share a bit about your business and talk about the 7 essentials, which parts are working, which parts are lacking. Let's go to number 2. So number 2 on my list is, I'm going to call it content creation and digital presence. And what I mean by that is, if you look at thought leaders like Brené Brown, or you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, or you look at anybody out there that's a thought leader in the field, they're out there putting stuff out there. They're doing videos, they're writing books, they're doing podcasts, they're tweeting, they're posting on LinkedIn, they're posting on Instagram. They're putting their knowledge out there. And content creation is an absolute essential for thought leadership. I mean, what's the point of being a thought leader if no one knows what you have to say about anything? You have to put stuff out there. And so a lot of people, it's amazing how few people don't create content. I mean, 70% of people on Twitter don't even tweet, they just consume. Only 5.2% of LinkedIn users actively are creating content, whereas everyone else just was reading and watching. So there's a small amount of people who are creating content to stand out. And this also leads to digital presence, right? The whole idea is that, especially now in today's post-pandemic world, your digital online presence is so important to who you are and where you're trying to go. And so what you have to think about is, what is that digital presence? What does it look like? I'm a huge proponent now of an integrated multi-platform presence for more diverse connections and attracting different people from different walks of life. I have a primary base where I use on LinkedIn, and then I integrate that with Twitter and Instagram. Now, those are the 3 I use primarily for business growth. I mean, I have personal accounts on Facebook and TikTok as well. But for my thought leadership digital presence, I'm using all those three in an integrated fashion to attract clients, to start conversations, and next thing you know, build more business. Whether they hire me for my speaking, whether they hire me for my coaching, or whether they take one of my programs on personal brand storytelling, thought leadership branding, whatever. I should mention actually next week on January 16th to the 20th, I'm actually running a 5-day thought leadership branding challenge. I challenge each and every one of you to join me, and I'm actually going to deliver live training every day for 1 hour on some of the best stuff I've been delivering the last 17 years as a professional speaker, as a 5-time TEDx speaker, as someone who has an influencer brand of 650,000 followers. I'm going to share with you all my knowledge. And I did it 2 years ago, and it was paid, but now I'm going to offer it to you guys for free. But and there's bonuses available if you show up as opposed to signing up, and there's bonuses available if you show up every day. So I'll share the link in a moment, but I'll tell you more about that in a second. In the meantime, again, content creation, digital presence is incredibly important for thought leaders. You look at all the thought leaders. I mean, for the most part, they all have a strong digital presence. I mean, it's and I'm not saying you have to do it, but if you want to have a huge leaps and bounds in your career or business, building a strong content strategy and having a strong digital presence will go a long way. So that, and if you're struggling with that, come up on stage, ask a question, tell me what's troubling you with that, and how we can help you get to that next level. Because to me, your content really is going to set you apart. It starts conversations. It shows your authority. It shows your expertise, and that multi-platform presence increases the diverse network that might want to work with you. Indra, what do you think about that? Number 2.
I think it's really important. I think the creation of content is underestimated. And I think it's very easy to not actually create. And I think it's easy to just go along for the ride and watch what everybody else is doing. And look, I understand because this a big part of our life is that we are life learners. But the thing is that in creating things, I just want to backtrack a little bit and the importance of having the areas or the niche, whatever you want to term it, that are your specialties and to focus on those things and to be very clear with your communication about what it is that you want to share out in the world. Are you sharing, cooking tips? Are you sharing, what is the area? Because what I seem to see also with people that start out, and this is not a criticism, this is just an observation, is that they sort of share things that um, are not in line with their brand. And it's great to do that now and again to show who you are, but to be kind of sporadic, like constantly and not have a theme, I think that's where you really do have to have a theme. If somebody thinks of Bobby, they're going to go, oh, okay, he's a TEDx guy. He's had all those talks. He's into personal branding. He's a great storyteller. There's certain things about him that you think of, like, oh yeah, he's a great speaker. He has courses. He has his own, like his brand takes it on, a life of its own. So when people go to your profile, it doesn't matter what social media content the the platform, the content should really be consistent with your brand and you should be having like a similar theme that you're focusing on. And that's not to say that you have to be married to that because people really like to see who is behind the brand. And often I remember it was very early days that Bobby, you and I were having a chat on this very platform about, hmm, should I, share some things about my journey? And you were saying absolutely every now and again, share something about yourself, or something that you have learned recently. And people love that. And I have found that people really love that too, because they realize that we're human beings, we're vulnerable, we're still learning. But the great thing is that they appreciate it. We're going to share a piece of ourselves that maybe we didn't really have to share. So that's some of my thoughts on that topic.
Melanie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up a good point that there's actually so few people that are actually not posting content, that, there's a space, and I'm just going to keep repeating this. There's a space for you there. Like, there's a space there for you. Rather, I look back on my journey as a career coach. I came from, recruiting. Wasn't planning on owning a business, wasn't planning on doing any of this. That was never my goal or anything of that nature 5 years ago. But, and what felt like was such a crowded space in the beginning. But then as you slowly put yourself out there, you realize there's a space for you. And there's always going to be people that want to work with me, or maybe they don't want to work with me and they'll want to work with the other person. But I'd also encourage too, that's where collaboration comes into play. And that was something that for me, I was missing in the very beginning of my career, because it wasn't something that was really ingrained in me coming from a ultra competitive um, place of recruitment, which collaboration isn't really encouraged with other recruiters. You're competing against one another most of the time. And so it took me a long time to realize, like, open myself up to other career coaches, learn from other career coaches, get their thoughts, share and comment on their content. Not that I was competing against them, but I was just adding value. Again, we talked about earlier about giving, and that's one way to help give to others is by commenting on other leaders that are in your wheelhouse. And so that to me is one of the biggest things too, is that don't feel like you don't have there's this social media feels like so big, and I mean there's how many millions of users, but breaking it down, there's really not that many that are actually posting content or putting out information there. So I highly encourage you to engage and collaborate with others as well. And it can make that process of sharing content a little bit less scary.
Awesome. Thanks, for that, Melanie. And again, thanks for everybody also who are tweeting out the space. I just put a couple of them up there in the nest, the link nest. Again, we want to get more people that are joining us and being part of this conversation. So we talked about the 7 essential thought leadership. Number 1, mindset and confidence. Number 2, content creation, digital presence. The third one is, and let me just see, people are coming up on stage. So I love questions. I love people who want to engage. So I'm going to let Parker, since we're up on stage, if you want to ask something or share a question, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for opening up this space. I think definitely it's something positive, especially with so much negative things going on social media and so many negative things being shared on social media. I think my main thing is learning how to transition from one platform to another, because I just started my Twitter last month, but my Instagram following is great. I have a very strong Instagram following, and I'm wondering, how do you be multi-platform? Because I have shared, I have a Twitter on Instagram and things like that, but trying to transition people from Instagram to Twitter, it seems a little bit difficult. And it's like, I guess my question is, do I focus on trying to transition, or do I focus on just trying to make content and learn how to content create for specifically Twitter?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that I'm talking about a lot in 2023, I did a newsletter before Christmas on the 3 biggest trends for thought leadership in 2023, and one of them is multi-platform strategies. And one of the things that a lot of people realizing is that we're on rented real estate, and if one account goes down, when Twitter was going through chaos because of Elon Musk, or when people get restricted from Facebook or restricted from Instagram, or kicked out of LinkedIn, which happened to Melanie, we had to think about, okay, where exactly is our brand being built? And so it's really important to have that strategy. Now, I first built on Twitter, then I built on LinkedIn, then I built on Instagram. So I did them one after the other. One big insight I can tell you is that even though I have 500,000 followers on Twitter, they don't translate into Instagram followers or LinkedIn followers.
Mm-hmm.
It just has not worked that way. There's some overlap, absolutely. And one of the things I've learned too is that there's an incredible easy way to repurpose content across platforms, right? So, for example, I took a photo of this space and I put it in Instagram in my stories to bring people to my Twitter. On Twitter, I might share something that's happening on LinkedIn, and so there is some overlap. But you know, I first built 500,000 on Twitter, and then I built 70,000 on LinkedIn, and then I built 30,000 on Instagram. But I did them one after the other. And but again, there are ways to integrate the two, the three or four you have. Starting with being clear on what your business is and your target audience, then being clear on what is the base you're going to use. Like some people use Instagram as the base, or Twitter as the base, or LinkedIn as the base, and then you integrate that with the rest. And I'm glad you brought this up because I'm actually doing a mastermind, a 3-month mastermind starting January 27th with two other experts on multi-platform content expansion strategy as well as monetization. And that's happening on January 27th under the Thought Leadership Brand Club. And actually, Melanie's one of the people I'm doing that with. Melanie and another friend of ours, Ilya Francis. And between the three of us, we have a crap load of Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn expertise to help you build your business brand. So I'll try to find the link to that, and I'll put it in the nest up there if you're interested in learning more about it. But I'd love to hear from Melanie first, and then we'll hear from Indra in terms of answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, Parker, that's such a great question. And back in late fall of last year, I have, over 20,000 connections and over 20,000 followers, 22,000 followers on LinkedIn, which was my go-to platform. And it was literally all taken away. I had to, it was, I'm back. So you can go there and check me out there and connect with me there. But, it taught me a valuable lesson that we, are on, as Bobby mentioned, this is all rented, and in some cases we're not, paying rent. And so we're here at the discretion of whoever is in charge or whatever powers that be or whatever happens. And so for me, it was a big lesson. And I was all prepared I was like, okay, got to figure out where, what am I going to do? And so one of the things that I personally do, I'm trying to slowly make more of a presence on TikTok, for example, and I'm actually enjoying it and just having some fun with it. But also getting to kind of share a combination of my, some personal goals, things of that nature, mixing it up a little bit, but also like doing social audio, like for example, Twitter Spaces or, Clubhouse. And so sharing the fact that I'm on Clubhouse and, and a lot of times those are the people that cross over. So when I'm on Clubhouse, they go check me out and vice versa. So, and that's really, it's about, and then also finding that content that you can, whether it's, you just repurpose it naturally, which in often cases you can. I've learned a lot from, showing up here because I was one of those, 70% of people that had a Twitter account. I never did anything with my Twitter account up until 2 years ago. And then I've slowly been, actively, engaging more and more with this. So it's a slow process. It doesn't happen. Nothing happens overnight. It didn't happen overnight. My 22,000 connections on LinkedIn didn't happen overnight, but I will say losing my account did happen overnight. And so, being really focused on what, how I can reshare that content, how can I repurpose that content, and make it more amenable. So, that's, one of my own personal goals and, being in really getting people to engage in all, multiple platforms. To me, that's just the only answer you had after my scare there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to show up on multiple platforms, especially if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, in particular. You just have to do it. So I hope that helps.
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
Indra, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really feel like you would be doing yourself an injustice if you don't cross-platform, and kind of share content across at least two other, like choose one or two others that you can manage. And the thing is, it's about then managing what content, because some of the other platforms, it's different. So obviously on Instagram, it's more, video content, pictures, but I have noticed that there are a lot of creators who are posting very similar things to what they post on Twitter. So again, that's repurposing. And it all comes down to how many hours you have in the day, and are you doing this all by yourself, and do you have support? But Twitter is my main, I guess, base. And as you've heard Bobby and Melanie sharing the importance of actually having other platforms and connecting on there. So um, I try to be very kind of organized about it and try to take something that I already have and move it across other platforms. So there are plenty of other platforms, and it's funny because even the other day, I'm on Instagram. I'm very occasionally on LinkedIn, but even with, a lot of people are encouraging, like, oh, you should be over here on Facebook because Facebook has a revival, family and friends and everybody. Um, so that has been something that I have been trying to do is to actually just discipline myself to, well, I already just posted over here, so I could just post over there. It's really just about your time management as well, but absolutely encourage you to be across platforms and to build and just to be patient. And the way that I noticed is not to look at the numbers, but just to be consistent. So, if you're going to post like, well, okay, I can definitely post like 3 times a week, whatever it is, have a plan. Like, okay, on Twitter, I'm going to post 3 times a week. On Instagram, I'm going to post twice. Over on Facebook, I'm going to, try to match, do 3 times. Whatever that is, just consistency, I think, is one of those really big things. And I know that Bobby has spoken a lot about consistency across the different platforms before and in building. It's really important that people know that, oh, okay, so, oh, it's Friday, she's posting again, or he's posting again. There's that kind of regular subconscious thing that they know they can go and get that content or they're going to see it. So consistency is really important. They're my thoughts. Over to you, Bob.
I just wanted to ask one more question. Do you think it would be more beneficial? Because I think the main thing that I got out of everything that you guys were saying is definitely to do be on multiple platforms, but also to repurpose your content. I think the struggle that I initially had was posting the exact same thing on a different platform. So it's like, you know, should I, when you say repurpose, are you saying just, if I post a reel, maybe worded a different way on Twitter? Or are you saying, you can post the same information? Because in my mind, I feel like if they're getting this information from Instagram, what will make them want to come to my Twitter if it's the same information, if that makes sense?
Well, the way you look at it actually is the people who are on Twitter have never heard of you, all of a sudden see your content.
Right. Okay.
That's what we're talking about. So the people, so I mean, and your business, tell me a bit more about your business and what are you trying to attract? Who are you trying to attract?
Well, the thing is I don't really have like a business. It's more like just content creating.
Sure.
I am an entrepreneur. I own a recruiting agency, but really social media for me is more of like being able to express myself.
Okay.
And on Instagram, I'm really into like affirmations and mindset,
Sure.
things like that. So on Instagram, I have been able to build an audience of over 30K with doing reels and of like
Mhm.
affirmations and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't sell any particular product.
Well,
It's really just,
you don't have to sell anything. You could just say like, I mean, you're selling yourself. You're selling
yeah,
your person,
basically.
your brand, right? And
Yeah.
that's going to benefit your recruiting company anyways, because you can say, yeah, she's out there sharing some really great stuff, and we love her, and that's what you want. So, what I would say is that when it comes to repurposing content, if you're doing reels and doing videos um, on Instagram as your primary base, then you should be taking that and repurposing it on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and then of course putting it up on YouTube, because it's just so easy to do that. You already have it anyways.
Right.
The only difference would be is on Instagram you may say more, right, and you may have more hashtags because the strategy on Instagram is more hashtags. On LinkedIn, your hashtag strategy would be like 3 to 5 hashtags because that's the standard norm there. And then on Twitter, again, you may have a couple of different hashtags as well, and you can change up the hashtags you want of people you want to attract. But I would actually do the same. So I'll tell you my what I do is I usually create videos. Uh, it used to be I used to create the video specifically for LinkedIn, but now what I do is I put them on Instagram first because I can automatically get the captions and all the bells and whistles with the design of it, and then I take that video, post on Instagram, then I download it and I upload the exact same video and I post it on LinkedIn. Then later on, a day or two later, I'll post the same video and upload it on to Twitter and eventually and Facebook as well. I mean, Facebook is both personal and business for me, and then finally I'll upload it to YouTube as the storage base for all my videos that I do. That's my process. It takes like for every video I do, it's a process I do over 3 to 5 days. But and sometimes if it's a really good video, I'll keep it on my phone and I'll post it multiple times, like on Twitter, for example. I've shared the same video, 5 times over a month because when the thing with every platform too, they have a certain like, Instagram not so much, but you can certainly redo it in a story. But LinkedIn, for example, the timeline for when things disappear on LinkedIn are 2 months, so you can actually post something that you shared 3 4 months ago, and it's okay. On Twitter, gosh, you can do the same video a couple times in a month. That's not that big a deal. So, and that's exactly. But part of it's knowing, what your objective is, who's your target audience, what kind of brand you're trying to build, what kind of outcome you want, and then working with you and your business and your brand itself specifically to figure that stuff out. Because I think what you're doing is good, but you want to keep putting stuff out there.
Gotcha.
Awesome. And I see another person has come off stage, but I want to get to the third one. So you may have noticed I put in the thread. I actually created a thread of the 7 essentials. So we can that way quickly go through some of them because I also want we started at 11:15, so I want to end this in about 15-20 minutes. But number 3 is storytelling, speaking, or communication. Every single leader needs to be a good communicator, and the more you invest in your storytelling, the more you actually are better at speaking. That's when you're going to be seen to be asked to be on panels and get a TED talk, and that's when you're going to be asked to share your knowledge, and your storytelling will make everything better. If you're a better speaker, a better storyteller, you're a better relationship builder, you're a better networker, you're a better closer. So all these things go a long way in terms of enhancing your thought leadership and your authority. The best experts out there are always working on their storytelling, always working on their speaking skills and communication so that they can be more effective with everything they're doing to build their thought leadership brand. Indra, what do you think? That's number 3.
Absolutely. Storytelling is really important because a lot of information we can actually add into the story and we can make it really seamless. Um, so much of the time, also, this is part of sharing content. By storytelling, we're also sharing pieces of ourselves. And people are really interested in what we've got to share and in our journey. So you can include so much in storytelling. It can be inspirational, it can be educational, it can be real life. You can share the struggles. There's just so many opportunities that we can share in storytelling, um, particularly the struggles as well of the process. It's very compelling to hear that it wasn't just yesterday that Bobby woke up to over 500,000 followers. He's gone through a process, he's gone through the struggles, he's learned a lot, and storytelling really enables us to share all of those processes, the struggles, the wins, and then also it hopefully really inspires people to connect that you are a real person and you have a story to tell, and everybody I feel has great stories. I really can't remember being in any space where there haven't been people that haven't shared something that's really interesting by sharing their story. Bobby is a very good storyteller, and obviously that's why he's a TEDx 5 times plus storyteller, speaker. And so there is a lot of strength in the ability to tell stories, and even telling stories can also be if you're not comfortable as a speaker, but you can do it in your content. You can tell stories by creating a great thread. You can tell stories visually. You can post on many of the platforms with just content telling a story, with visuals, adding photos, adding videos. And if you're confident, you can even tell stories via video. So I love this concept of storytelling. Bobby, back over to you.
Melanie, any thoughts on that before we move on to the fourth one, or getting XD to speak?
I'm just going to say, let's go to number 4. So I agree with everything Indra said.
Awesome. Well, actually, let's go to XD. XD's up on stage. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and share your thoughts or question.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great to be in your space, Bobby. So I'm spacing from South Africa and loving your content. Thank you for all the guidelines that you guys are sharing. But I wanted to ask one question. Don't you guys have families? Where do you get all this time? Like, I promise you, I think for me, one of the things that is actually a challenge in content creation is the time. Unless maybe you guys have got like professionals actually helping you to actually take the videos and just even the typing of the content or from one platform to another. And also obviously you have to consume some content to actually always be relevant and all that kind of stuff. So I guess my question is, doesn't it maybe kind of affect your private lives in terms of time, the people that are in your lives? Don't you find that as a challenge? And if you did or you do, and how do you then handle it? Right.
Okay. Great question. Yeah, great question. So let me get into this right away. It's not really that affected because the thing is, I have a business and I allocate about 50 hours a week to my business. And then I decide how much do I want to spend on my social media digital presence strategy. Now, for some of us, it's less. Maybe it's 5 hours a week. Other people, like myself, being a social media influencer and having a large platform, I spend more, probably 15 hours a week. But, you have to base it on how much time you have. And there's lots of ways to save time. So, for example, I mentioned how I will create a video on Instagram with a copy of the post. I'll use that on LinkedIn. I'll also tweet it out there, and I'll put it on YouTube. Now, how much time does it really take me to do a 1-minute video? Well, the 1-minute video, in terms of recording it, planning it, and adding subtitles and whatnot, that takes me about 15, 20 minutes. And then I post. And so I'm probably spending about an hour, and then maybe for particularly platforms like LinkedIn, where I'm engaging in people's comments, and because that's where I get a lot more engagement than other platforms, I'm investing about 2 hours for that content. And I typically focus on 3 times a week, usually Tuesday, Thursdays, and the weekend. And so that's basically 6 hours of my time. And that's how I've set that together for myself. And so I think, and a lot of people think, oh, Bob, you must have all these followers, like 500,000 on Twitter and 70,000 LinkedIn and 35,000 on Instagram. You must be inundated with messages. I said, well, the truth is I don't get very many emails because I turn all my email notifications off, first of all. And number two, the DMs that I do get, I don't get as many as you'd think. People are pretty shy about DMing folks. I get replies, which is nice. But, the DMs are either, hey, I love what you're doing, Bobby. Can we talk about your services? Sure, I'll respond right away. The other ones are just kind of, a lot of the spam stuff I just ignore. So, if you have a clear brand and you're sharing consistently, you'll be able to use your time very effectively and not worry so much about the other stuff too. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Melanie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because I know you have kids as well. I know they're older though.
I mean,
mine are 12 and 14.
Yeah, your kids. I mean, my kids are older. My kids are out of the house, so it's a little bit different in that perspective from me. But the reality is that I set boundaries. I schedule a lot of things. For example, I schedule my workouts. I schedule tonight. I'm having dinner with with my best friend. So there's, those things, are very important to me to be able to schedule everything accordingly. To be honest, while others have been talking, I literally created a post that I will be shared on multiple platforms because for example, I use Buffer, and I added it to my Pinterest, to my LinkedIn page, to Instagram, and doing one for Twitter. So, and that was literally while we were sitting here. So I do multitask. Like Bobby said, if a client, a potential client reaches out to me, those are the ones that get my attention first and foremost. But honestly, too, if I had it in my calendar today to create a social media post. And I'm kind of like sitting here wishy-washy on it. Honestly, I probably won't do it, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And so I'm gonna, that's okay. I'm not gonna, I had an idea, and I'm just not. It's just honestly, it's not resonating with me. So I may come back to it, and if I don't do it today, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But I'm not going to also beat myself up on it. So it really doesn't take as much time as people think. You just have to also prioritize what is, again, I'll kind of go back to my days as recruiting. We used to talk about when I would train people, looking at all the activities that you had on your plate, what's the closest to the dollar? So for me, it's like, okay, what's the closest to the dollar, but also what's the most important thing? I took a fair amount of time off during the holidays, to be honest, to spend with my now 20-year-old daughter because she's off at college. And believe me, those times are not it's not readily available. I'm literally, while we're sitting here, started an email to several clients, just being very honest with them and saying, hey, I'm behind on some of my deliverables. I just want to be transparent with you. And I'm working diligently on that. And, I'm trying my best. But that time off with my daughter was extremely important for me. So that was a non-negotiable. So I hope that helps.
I love that, Melanie. Thanks so much for that. And I see Liam was on with a hand up, but knowing Liam, I'm sure he has thoughts on this as well. So Liam, go ahead. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Happy New Year, Bobby, and Happy New Year to everybody else too. I thought it was an excellent question, and the thing that I do is I just set aside half an hour every day before I start work in the morning to make sure that I have content going out there. And usually what happens is that I create more content than I need, which creates a buffer. And that buffer means that I can take days off when things crop up. It means that I am still posting and I'm still taking the necessary time out to spend with my family and friends and do other things too. So I think half an hour a day is really all it takes in terms of the content side. And I think there's an awful lot of pressure out there to be posting maybe 5 tweets a day, replying to all these accounts, doing all of these different things. But actually, the things that you need to succeed are systems, and crafting out that time for you and prioritizing just 30 minutes is the simplest way that I've found to start becoming a thought leader, to start building your brand. So it is easier than you think in terms of time. And if you start with just 30 minutes a day, hey, if you get a bit more, that's great. If you only get 20 minutes, that's also great too. You had a content buffer there. So I think start small, and if you can, scale up. And a principle that I hold very close is that if I can't keep up my approach for at least a year, I scale it back. If that needs to be just 10 minutes a day, that needs to be just 10 minutes a day. We shouldn't be a slave to trying to do more than we actually can with the time and everything that we have on the table.
Love that. Thanks, Liam. Always great to have your content here and sharing your knowledge. Yeah, I mean, that's why I said, like, start with your target, start with your objective, start with how much time you got. And based on that, come up with a strategy. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in the I mentioned we're doing a mastermind the January 27th for 3 months to help people actually build and integrate a content marketing strategy that can help them grow across multiple platforms, but also to help monetize. Because I think those are two things that people struggle with. One is, how do I integrate across multiple platforms? And number two, how do I actually monetize on those platforms? Because I think a lot of people, this is part of why we're talking about thought leadership, because a lot of people don't know how to do that part either. So thanks for sharing that. Also, just an FYI, I put the link to my 5-day challenge next week. If you really want training and you want to learn about storytelling and content creation, community building, and personal branding and mindset and all that kind of stuff, I'm doing this thing next week. And normally, I did it 2 years ago and it was paid, but now this one I'm doing it for free, just this once, and I'll be live, so you can be there and ask questions, and I'll be training you guys and learning about your businesses and your brands and what you're trying to do, and so you can join me for that. And the link's up there. I'll put the link for the mastermind at the end of the month a little bit later, but I want to keep going through our list because I've not done them all, so I'm only at number we only did 3, so we have to go a little faster to end this off. First one was mindset, confidence. Number 2 is content creation, digital presence. Number 3 is storytelling, speaking, communication. Number 4 is building meaningful relationships. And what I mean by that is every single thing you do in life, whether it's for your career, for your business, or for your personal life, is about relationship building. So the more meaningful relationships you can build, the more meaningful conversation you can have, whether it's a DM, a Zoom call, a tweet, a LinkedIn post, an Instagram post, everything you're doing, running a webinar, building those relationships goes a long way in terms of building trust and then building that familiarity. And next thing you know, they want to work with you. And that's the foundation of every single best business out there. So working those relationships goes a long way. Indra, can you comment on that, please?
Yes, I love this topic of building relationships. Also, the other thing is, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit, is when you're content creating, remember what you put out there you're going to attract your tribe basically uh, by putting out your content and by putting it out on a regular basis. By posting and being consistent and everything else, you're going to attract. And you have the opportunity to build so many relationships on the different platforms in different ways. um, this is a this is like one of the primary ways that you can connect with people is to share your voice on social media. In Twitter Spaces, this is a great way because words are one thing, but they're very flat and one-dimensional. So when you get to speak to people and have a conversation and share your thoughts, then really others can really see, okay, well, what is this person all about? And they can tell your authenticity, your drive, your thought processes, are shared here. So it's really a wonderful place to connect and build relationships. Twitter Spaces, LinkedIn has audio rooms now, and Bobby often runs audio rooms over there. So LinkedIn is another place to connect with voice. And then also, even when you can build relationships through even your content. And I'll just tell you a really quick story, but basically, since I started, it was probably a year and a half ago, I had 200 followers. And since then, my account has really grown because of the relationship building component, I feel. Um, Many people, will post, comments on your account. And what the other thing, all I had to do was to respond. And there you have it. There you have a connection. And then, every week, just be consistent with responding to people. If they take the time to write a comment, and obviously I'm talking about the favorable and constructive comments, then respond to them. And sometimes it's as simple as, oh, thank you, I hadn't thought about that. Um, you know, but that is building a relationship even on your content with very little effort and very little time invested. It's amazing how you can build these relationships on here. And it can just be through responding to others with your content, to posting, is even building a relationship with your audience. So they're just some of my initial thoughts on that. Thank you.
Melanie?
Let's keep on going. I'm going to keep that list moving.
You're hilarious. Okay, all right, fine. Let's keep going. Number 5 is invest in your personal branding. And I put it 5th. It's often the first thing I say to do, but what I find is that it feeds into the mindset and confidence piece. I think confidence mindset is a foundation too, but personal brand is also a foundation. Getting clarity on who you are, how you're perceived, who your target audience is, what your objective is, what your special vision, mission, why is for the world. I mean, that focus and direction and clarity goes a long way to helping you ramp up and elevate what you're trying to do to create something consistent that resonates with your target audience. And by building your personal brand, it adds to your confidence, adds to your mindset, and it makes everything go well. If you have a clear, focused personal brand, it's going to affect your relationships, it's going to affect your content, it's going to affect everything you do. So that's number 5. Melanie, I'll let you comment on that one.
Yes, all I'm going to say here is please invest in yourself. Invest in yourself with whatever you choose, whether that's a business coach, whether that's a mindset coach, wherever you need it. And take the time to invest in yourself, because that's going to be a game changer. You don't know what you don't know. And you can learn from others. And that's really so important. And I just really think that, that's going to be what sets you apart from others, is that taking that time to take and invest and really finding out, like, where is my money well spent? Where can I get my, really my bang for my buck, but also how can I better, what is it that I need to learn and how can I learn and grow from it? So please, if you take away one thing today, that's the one thing I hope you really do take away, is find ways to invest in yourself.
Indra, what do you think?
Back over.
Sorry, Bobby, could you just repeat that last one? I actually had to hop on a call very quickly and I missed some of that.
No problem. Indra, I think it's probably better for us to keep going because I want to make sure we're a little bit over time, so I want to keep going into the other one. This one was all about investing in personal branding. You can comment on that after I talk about number 6. Number 6 is coaching in community. So getting a coach to provide you focus, accountability, soundboarding to tangible results can go a long way. Every thought leader typically has a great coach and can be a good coach. I have my own coach. I also coach other people. And community is a big part of it too. So whether you have a coaching community or a coaching group or a mastermind or a community of supportive people to soundboard off of, to ask questions, to set goals with, to be accountable, it goes a long way. And the people who are building thought leadership have strong communities. Indra has her Positive Vibe Tribe community, and I have my Thought Leadership Branding Club community and my DYPB Discovery Personal Brand community. You can build a community via your newsletter, which Melanie's done very, very well. So having a community goes a long way to building your thought. If you don't have that community, that's something you should be also focused on building as part of your strategy. And so I'll turn it to Indra if you want to talk about coaching/community as well as personal branding.
Yeah, look, I love this topic of community because that's why we're really here on this earth, I feel, is to connect with others. And um, I really just got so excited when I first started this whole concept of building my own community and just seeing it thrive. But there are many ways. You don't actually have to build a separate community. It can be part of your brand. It can be part of your account. So I think that's really important. And to, again, I'm going to go back to content creation and the importance of that. And just to sort of wrap up brand with that as well, by creating certain content, we are actually building community because, again, we're attracting our tribe. We're attracting the people that are interested in our content. And the thing is, it's about building relationships on social media. That's why we're here. So it is one of the most important things. And also to, to make sure that you are being a service to your community, that you are providing information to them, that you are sharing content that's going to add value to them. I think that's a really important thing when you do have a community to sort of streamline your content. But something that I've really done in the Positivity Vibe Tribe community, that's a Twitter community here. And if anyone's you're all welcome to join. There's a link in my bio to that community. but everything is very streamlined because it's all under the the positivity realm, good vibes. So so you do get to actually, the exciting part, the fun part is that you actually do get to groom your community with the content as you're building it. And even in the example of Melanie's newsletter, she's sending out a certain type of content and grooming her community with that. Back over to you, Bob.
Awesome. Melanie, any thoughts?
I think it just goes back to, again, finding one, invest in yourself, but also, that community can be not just the people you're reaching, but the people that you need, therefore support too. And so, find people that, and this goes back to the very beginning, find people that is like-minded in your, whether it's in your same wheelhouse or not, but just people that you can learn from consistently. And that's also going to help cheer you on and be there to support you. Community is not only going to help you build your brand, but it will also help you both professionally and personally.
And I'd like to invite Liam to share any thoughts he has on. And Liam, because I like your content, and I'm glad you're on stage with us. What are your thoughts on personal branding as well as coaching and community?
Yeah, I think personal branding is absolutely essential, and I think it's something that, whether we like it or not, every action we take is a reflection on the brand. And I think the community aspect of that is honestly the most important thing. If we think about thought leadership as a way of driving forward business or coaching, I think people want to do business with people, and having strong relationships and intentionally building those relationships and community, rather than maybe searching for followers or the vanity metrics that a lot of people go for. I think people want to buy our services, buy our products, because it's you that is providing them. So just a couple of quick thoughts there, Bobby.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And again, if anybody has questions about what we're talking about, or you want to share this knowledge, you can take a photo of this room. You can share it with the arrow buttons, and you can let people know, here's what I learned from Melanie, Indra, Liam, and Bobby. You can tag us as well. So share what you were seeing here, and share the knowledge with people. You'll see Indra actually posting all these insights that she got from the room, and she's sharing it along. I think that's fantastic. And what do? I automatically retweet to my 500,000 followers. So if that's something you want me to do, you can do that. Promoting one another is win-win-win. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And just to review now, the 7 essential thought leadership. Number 1, mindset and confidence. That's the start, because our mindset holds us back and our confidence wins people over. Number 2, content creation, digital presence, right? Leading the conversations, building authority and community. Number 3, storytelling, speaking, communication. Every thought leader is built on communication skills. That's something every CEO wants. And your storytelling builds greater trust. Number 4, building meaningful relationships. Every great business or brand or career is built on strong relationships. So cultivate them now. Number 5, invest in personal branding for knowing yourself, for better clarity, focus, and direction. And number 6, coaching community. Having a coach, as well as being a coach, as well as having communities that support you and have followers from that community, goes a long way. And finally, number 7, the 7th essential of thought leadership. You want to build authority. You want to get speaking gigs. You want to get clients. You want to get opportunities to enhance your life and your business. It's the continuous learning of knowledge, strategy, and tactics with a plan. What I mean by that is that the world is evolving, your industry is changing all the time, and you have to keep learning and learning and learning. You can't just sit on the learning you have and say, oh, this will last me for the next 10 years. No, you have to keep learning and evolving. The thought leaders are there driving new conversations and innovating on the way things are. And then on top of that, you have to have a plan. I know that's kind of it feels like a secondary thing, but learning and planning, it goes a long way into being able to execute and act in a consistent way that builds that thought leadership brand for yourself. So what I've done for me and my strategy, that's what I've been doing. I've been thinking about, like, for a perfect example of learning, evolving is before the digital expanse of social platforms, I was a networking guy, the networking guru. I wrote a book on how to network anytime, anywhere with anyone, and but it's all focused on in-person stuff. But then LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter showed up, and I had to relearn how people network from a social standpoint. And especially during the pandemic, it became a whole new topic of how do we enhance our Zoom calls, how do we enhance our virtual environments and remote working teams. And so I had to learn as I went along, and that's incredibly important. So you have to keep learning all the time. And the best thought leaders out there they're getting the knowledge, they are creating strategies, and they're coming up with tactics and tasks to work on. So if you don't have a plan, if you don't have the right strategy, you're going to be lacking. And so the reason why we mentioned all 7 of these things is because most of us have one or more of these things lacking, or it's not aligned, or we haven't put as much effort into it. And to be honest, most of us have a lot of these things lacking. I mean, most people I've talked to need help with their digital presence. They need help with better storytelling. They need help with relationship building. Most people have not invested in their personal brand. Most people don't have a community that they can leverage. Everyone has mindset, confidence issues. But if you work with the right people, the right community, and again, that's why I say follow Indra, follow Melanie, follow Liam, follow me, because we are helping build communities and supporting them with this type of stuff. But to me, number 7, learning and having a plan with knowledge, strategy, and tactics is incredibly important. I'd love to hear the other people share their thoughts on this. Indra, go ahead.
I love this. This is actually, it is one of the most important, because I almost think if you are starting at the beginning, or even you're in the middle, somewhere you've been posting, you have your social media accounts, I think that there's always time for a revisit. And this can be done on a weekly basis, the planning piece. I think the planning piece is all about being flexible and seeing what your schedule permits. But the big picture, I think, like the beginning, we're now at the beginning of the year, and in this first couple of weeks, like the entire part of January can be a really great time to reflect and to think about what you really want for your brand, for your account. What are some of the goals that you have? Is it just that you want to grow it, or do you want to actually create direction with the content that you have? I mean, I think it's a great time to really consider some planning. And then also what I do is every week on a Sunday evening, I go over my entire plan for the week and what my schedule is. And I actually slot in moments of when I'm going to create content and when I'm going to focus specifically on this week. And that enables me to have a fluidity with my planning for the week and with my content creation and everything else I've got to do, as well as my production work. So I like to have this weekly time on a Sunday evening to just kind of reflect and plan on what I have for the week ahead. So I love this, and I think it's really important with our personal brands, with thought leadership in general, to be able to plan and pivot constantly.
Thanks, Indra. Melanie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to, you really have to do a dive in terms of where are you? Be very introspective. And sometimes if you find that you're having a tough time, ask others to kind of give their thoughts, hey, could you look at this and see, somebody that's an expert, getting their opinion, and really being able to be open to constructive criticism, but also being open to knowing where am I going to grow, how am I going to grow, and just, having a plan and being able to execute that. And so, take self-evaluation and really, as Indra said, evaluate what is it that you're looking for, what is it that you're wanting to do, what is working, what's not working, and how can you, what are the next steps you need to take to move from there. And, it starts, and that's where it starts.
Liam, I'd love to hear your thoughts too, since you're on here. Great. Anything you want to add, Liam, if you're there? He may not be. That's okay. Okay, great. Well, listen. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I want to thank everyone for sharing their knowledge. I also put up in the nest the link above, the mastermind, the 3-month mastermind that I'm running with Ilya and Melanie on multi-platform and monetization of different platforms across three or more platforms. It's a 24/7 direct messages, 3 monthly calls, and a whole bunch of information and insights to help you stay accountable and get to that next level. So we'd love to have you join us. It's a maximum of 8 people, and it's a really awesome price because it's run by the Thought Leadership Brand Club and they put it together. It's sponsored by them. So check out the link, and if you have any questions, you can ping me anytime you want. I hope you enjoyed the 7 Thought Leadership Essentials. I'm doing and I do these rooms regularly every week on Monday, the Power Connection chat at 11 a.m. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday at 4 p.m. and Thursday at 2 p.m., the LinkedIn audio rooms run by Rachel Simon and myself, as well as the one on Thursday, which is with Deanna Russo. And then also we run rooms on Clubhouse, on LinkedIn Mastery, on Mindset on 4 p.m. on Clubhouse, and on Friday, Social Selling. And of course, I do LinkedIn Mastery here on Twitter Spaces on Sundays. Not always, but I try to do them on Sundays every couple of weeks at 3 p.m. Eastern. So with that, I'd love to hear some final thoughts from the panel. Melanie, we'll start with you.
I think the biggest thing that I would just reemphasize to everybody that's listening is really just take some time to really evaluate what are your goals, where do you want to go with your business or your your career, wherever that space is. How do you want to be seen? And now's the time to elevate your game and being able to see, okay, where can I get the best assistance from? Who can really help me? And and also be there to support you from it. So I think those are the most important things. And again, I'm just going to reiterate: invest in yourself. That when we stop and we take that time to invest, which I know can be scary sometimes, it really will pay off. If you're really committed to it and ready to go all in, it will be the best thing that you can do for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. Indra, any final thoughts?
Yes, final thoughts. I really think that we can never underestimate the planning and the repivoting for our personal brands. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey, there is always room for growth, for improvement, and not to be afraid to take time out and reevaluate, where you are. And particularly in January, I really feel like January is such an opportunity for reflection, to look at what we're doing, to look at opportunities, and to really give yourself time to plan in January. And even if you do need to take off time from social media, then January is a really great time to do that because things are just starting back up, and we haven't got into the run of the full year running yet. So plan, take time off, pivot, and on a weekly basis, don't be afraid to just pivot. Take. I love Sunday evenings, but pick a day and just kind of look at all the things that you have to do in life and include all of your family obligations, everything else, and then just really plan and allocate your time on a weekly basis so that you're not even overwhelming yourself, that you can still pivot and adjust. And I just want to say, for everybody, I see some amazing people here. Thank you so much for joining this space and this conversation. And just sending you all love, light, and blessings to have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Indra. And I should remind everyone to make sure you follow Indra and Melanie because they're delivering some great knowledge here, and I think that's really important. The reason I'm doing this 7 Thought Leadership Essentials is because I'm going to ask you a question. I want you all to think about this. And maybe you can turn this into a tweet. I want you to answer this question. Why haven't you achieved what you've set out to do? That's important, right? Whether it's for your brand, for your business, for your career. Why haven't you achieved what you set out to do? And a lot of people don't like to answer this question, but it's an important question because it's something that comes up. And the truth is that the three things you can do to start changing things for yourself is surrounding yourself with people that care about you, like a people or community, getting the support that you need from coaches or whatever, or these spaces, and find the right mentor, coach, and experts to help you out. But from what I've seen, people always say the same kind of things. They say fear of failure, or distraction, or lack of motivation, or my inner dialogue, lack of focus, lack of strategy, imposter syndrome, fear, feeling stuck. These are all things that people say. But whenever I ask them, well, what would you achieve if you just had more confidence, more clarity? Well, then I would take more risks. I would succeed in my goals. I'd attract more opportunities. Well, great. So then what's stopping you? If you really want to have success with thought leadership branding, I laid out the 7 steps in the post above. But, really it's about this: clarity of what you're trying to do, coaching to be accountable, consistency to attract and build on each success, a community to support and champion you, and finally confidence. If you have those 5 things, you're going to be able to get to that next level. But it comes by working with other people. And so that's why, we're running that workshop at the end of the month. I'm doing the 5-day thing next week, and that's why I want to help you. But you have to be willing to acknowledge these are the areas I need to work on. That's why I wrote the 7 things out, because I want you to rate each one. How are you on all those on a scale of 1 to 10? Maybe you're a perfect 10 in terms of relationship building, but most of us are not. So wherever you are, you can always improve, and work with other people to improve will go a long way. So if you enjoyed this space, hope you shared the insights. You can take a photo. You can share the replay will be available as soon as this thing is done. I encourage you to share the replay, share your top 3 insights or things you've learned. Tag me, tag Andrew, tag Melanie, and then we'll retweet to all our lots and lots of followers, which will actually get you attention too. All right. So with that, I want to thank Andrew. I want to thank Melanie for helping me with this room. I want to wish everybody a happy new year, and I'm looking forward to working with you and any of the rooms I'm doing or the events I'm up to. And I'll see you guys next week. All the best to you. Take care. So long.